Welcome, everybody, to the Band of Gamers podcast, episode number 92. This is actually our short news-focused discussion podcast, so we'll be talking a lot of news here today. Lots of stuff, at least that I saw, came out this week, so it should be a good show. I'm joined by, once again, DBQHams, if I can talk tonight.
It's getting late. That's okay.
That's all right. And Mr. Zeuxidamas.
Hey, what's up? Destiny is still amazing.
Oh, man. Well, maybe we'll talk about that another time. Anyways, so like I said, we got lots of news today. We got, acquisitions. We got charts, UK charts. We have some announcements. But up first, we have a delay. So we're going to start off with some good news. It's kind of, I guess. So Middle-earth: Shadow of War was originally supposed to come out on August 22nd of 2017, and has been delayed just a couple months, actually, not too far out, till October now. Let me see, October 10th now, worldwide, it's going to be coming out. So it kind of pushes it. See, October 22nd, I think Destiny 2 was on September 8th or 6th, so...
8th or 9th, yeah.
Yeah, somewhere around there. So it kind of gets out of that way, I guess, at least. It would have had like a couple weeks where it would have been out. Different games, but still, there's kind of two really big games that were going to be coming out next to each other. So hit October. I don't really know if anything big's coming out in October yet. Not that I know of. I don't know if
Not that we know of. No, and one of the things we talked about on Monday's podcast, right, is that what we know in terms of release dates, we've got Destiny, we've got Call of Duty in late October, and we've got the Battlefront in November. So we were talking about how we had 3 third-person perspective games, with and Shadow of War being one of them, all kind of being crammed into August. So, as we were talking on Monday, Shadow of War seemed to be a strong enough title to carry and to not be kind of tossed into that August quick release window. So delaying it only shows some confidence in the developer for it, and I think it also, anytime you're delaying it by a little bit, it only really matters. It provides some polish. It's not anything that, to me, singles any problems with the game. It's more about just trying to put another pass over it to make sure it's ready to go for kind of the AAA status that the first game ended up being, as it was a number of Game of the Year contenders and winners back when it came out.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what they said in their announcement. They're just delaying it to deliver the highest quality experience. So they didn't go into details other than that. So yeah, probably like I said, just some polish. If it was like 6 to 9 months, then maybe you can kind of worry about that's kind of a big delay. But a couple months, not too bad. So August 10th. October. We got November is probably Call of Duty, most likely. I know Mario's supposed to come out, I think, in November. I think they've kind of said around that time. So it kind of got, some breathing room. Not sure what's coming out in September either, other than Destiny. I guess that's probably the biggest one. You always have Madden 2, kind of August, September area. So once again, different games, but still, big game that's coming out. So not not too much of a bad deal there. Just a couple months. Zeus, worried, not worried, kind of par for the course, I guess.
This game is kind of not really on my radar. Yeah.
Well, there we go. So I think the one thing, thinking about release dates, right, is that we've got Assassin's Creed Origins or Egypt or whatever it's going to end up being called, which is going to be a similar kind of open world, third-person perspective game. In theory, launches sometimes this fall, and so, but that date has not been released yet. So I wonder if this delay ends up impacting that, or if it ends up kind of creating some head-to-head competition. So, given something, those probably are its most direct competitor would be the Assassin's Creed game. It'll be interesting to see where Ubi drops that, but we'll know in a few weeks at E3.
Yeah, third person, view, perspective, fighting, parkour, all kinds of neat stuff like that. So let's go from delays to some free games, looks like, for PlayStation. Zeus?
Yeah, so over on the PlayStation blog, the June PlayStation Plus games have been posted. So this month we will be getting Killing Floor 2, which is a horde first-person shooter game. To me, it's kind of in that same mix with Payday. It's this weird kind of mostly PC kind of focused game as far as the population of gamers that have been playing it. But it's one of those things that, like, whenever the name is mentioned, like, it's immense. I don't want to say immensely popular. It's popular beyond what you would think it would be for a game that I think that console gamers are maybe not as familiar with. And also this month we will be getting Life is Strange, which I don't know anything about. So when I get done, if either of you know about that game, you can feel free to jump in and put in some description. Also this month, and that's what we're getting for PlayStation 4. On PlayStation 3, we get Abyss Odyssey, and a thing that I'll definitely be pulling down because I love racing games, World Rally Championship 5 also comes to the PlayStation 3. And I think that's it. I guess the only other thing I mentioned is, of course, we all need to be keeping our eye on when PlayStation 3 games offered on PlayStation Plus might go away, since manufacturing of that SKU, at least in Japan, was ended either earlier this week or at the end of last week. So the PlayStation 3 is definitely on the down ramp of its life cycle and is likely to become unsupported sometime within the next year or two. So games you guys are interested in that lot, or anything catch your eye?
So I have Life is Strange. I have it on Xbox. It's a really interesting kind of adventure game. Some time travel aspects in there, kind of a coming of age teen story. It's a little more nuanced in terms of, it's not quite a Telltale game, but it's not quite a David Cage game. So it's somewhere in that scope. A very interesting story to it. And they had just announced that they leaked that there's a sequel to it, or at least another one in the series of Life is Strange 2, whether it's the same characters or not, that is going to be announced. And so having it here as a free game only kind of helps build kind of that name recognition.
Yeah, I have it for the Xbox One also. I think it was a free game, a couple months ago, maybe a few months ago. And yeah, it's I haven't played it yet, unfortunately. So other than that, I don't have a PS4, so I can't really talk about Killing Floor. So I don't know.
I think the other thing to hit there is the games with gold. As other free games, we've got Speedrunners, which has been out on Steam for a while, is kind of a competitive endless runner type of game. Watch Dogs 1 for Xbox One, Assassin's Creed 3, and Dragon Age Origins are the free games on that console as well. But I think probably something that maybe as we head into sometime in the summer, a good conversation would be, Zeus, what you brought up of kind of the end of life cycle for PlayStation 3 and whether or not those games continue to be part of that free service, where in the Xbox side, we see those 360 games and we know that they're backwards compatible. But at this stage on the Sony life cycle, they're really, the quality or the stature of those games has continued to decrease as there's not nearly as many in circulation or that's not supporting it to the same degree.
Yeah, well, the big thing that's going to cause the divide, right, is Sony's approach and strategy on this, because Sony's approach and strategy to backwards compatibility is for you to subscribe to PlayStation Now.
Right, and in that case, you don't need a free PS Plus game because you're subscribed to the service and you're streaming it that way.
Right, which makes it all good for Sony. More money in their pockets. However, when my PlayStation 3 hardware becomes no longer supported on that service, I will not be subscribing to PlayStation Now. I'll just have to let it go.
Let it go into the night. All right, so looks like you have one more store here. UK sales chart.
Yeah, so we all know that I like to take a look at the UK sales charts because their information tends to post ahead of the NPD numbers for North America, and it's kind of a good indicator of what those North America numbers will be. So big news on their chart this past week is that Injustice 2 has stayed atop the #1 position. I believe it's like its second week in a row that it's held that position. Some other interesting movements is Overwatch, which had been kind of lower in the chart, bumped up to number 2. I believe that's associated with some new character releases that they've had. And again, kind of as DB and I talked on Monday, maybe because that's a game that people really look forward to spending a bunch of time playing in the summer when a bunch of their friends are out of school. Grand Theft Auto 5 holds in there, still in the top 10. It's been in the top 10 forever and a day. FIFA, as you might expect for a European nation, very interesting for me since I'm playing this game. Prey checked in at number 5, so that's pretty awesome. Mario Kart Deluxe, which DB, I believe you have. Yeah, so and unfortunately for me, is a game that I have not picked up yet. Rings in at number 6. Ghost Recon Wildlands kind of surprises me by landing at number 7 because seems like most of the gaming community has gone lukewarm on that game very quickly. Dishonored 2 checks in at number 8, another game that I have but haven't played yet. Legend of Zelda checks in at number 9. And DB, I wanted to bounce this off you because you mentioned you'd heard some negative buzz about this release, but Ultra Street Fighter 2 for the Nintendo Switch checks in at number 10, despite any negative buzz that may have come up with its launch. So you have any insight into that?
So without seeing kind of the hard numbers, I think the insight that I would offer is that is the only new game that was released last week. Injustice 2 it's been out for 2 weeks. Everything else on that list has been out for a little while. Prey has been out for a couple weeks now as well. So potentially, depending on what those sales numbers are, it could just be a matter of that is a new game that was released, and it gets kind of a awareness bump just by being something new for shelves.
Gotcha.
It's also, I would also say it's quite possible that it's priced differently in the UK, which might make a difference. Or it is also, with 3 Switch games on the top 10, it could also be people just hungry for titles for the Switch as well.
Right, because it's the only fighting game released for the Switch at this time, right?
Yes. Okay, moving on to our next story as we continue to churn through our news. It's back to you, Prime, right?
Yes. Got a game announcement here from Iron Galaxy, the developers of Killer Instinct, or actually, I guess they kind of inherited the development of Killer Instinct. And publisher Maximum Games have announced Extinction, and as they put it, a fast-paced action game. So for now, they just released a cinematic trailer, just CG trailer. Kind of almost looks like the guy's like jumping around all over the place. You're fighting these giant ogre type of creatures and other monsters too, but they kind of show off the 150-foot tall ogres mostly in the trailer. It almost kind of looks like a Sunset Overdrive, maybe. It kind of looks like they're just kind of in this big city area. He's jumping all around trying to attack and get away from the monsters. So just kind of interesting. This just came out today, I believe. Yep. And this is for the PlayStation 4, Xbox, and PC. So it's multi-plat. Killer Instinct was obviously just Xbox before. This will have a single-player campaign, custom online battles that allow for players to create battlegrounds and objectives, which I don't know, I'm not really sure how that's going to work, but then a wave-based survival mode called Extinction, so kind of a horde mode basically, where obviously you just get waves of enemies coming at you. So is this interesting to anybody, either of you two? I don't know, obviously you can't tell much from the trailer, but...
So I think the interesting thing that to me is whether or not this is produced by, developed by Iron Galaxy or published by Iron Galaxy, because they've been on a run lately. Last fall they had Video Ball, which was kind of the competitive sports, just kind of an indie game that they picked up and have published. Iron Galaxy Studios also picked up Adam Boyce, who was a Sony kind of content curator over during the launch of PlayStation 4, and so they've been trying to act as a gateway for a number of small companies. So it's always interesting what they end up picking up, and they've been kind of heavy in the multiplayer kind of online fighting, whether it's with Killer Instinct or Video Ball and some of their other pieces. So I don't really know much about it, but I'll keep my eye out. Zeus, how about you? Any thoughts?
Well, I was just going to mention, like, this is becoming a really crowded space, right? I mean, we just dropped Tekken 7. We've got Ultra Street Fighter 2 HD, over the top remix, whatever just came out for the Switch. We've got ARMS coming out. Injustice 2 just dropped. So I just don't know how much more room there is for kind of a second tier fighting property like Killer Instinct. But I guess my big thing is, and I know it's, a new mix of people working with it, but I just got turned off by Killer Instinct on Xbox One, right? And I just don't expect to go back to that property anytime soon, regardless of platform.
Right. Yeah. So this is supposed to be shown at E3 behind closed doors. So I don't know if they'll actually show any gameplay to the general public once they totally release it. But we'll see. Like I said, just a cinematic trailer. Can't really tell too much from it, as far as whether I like it or not. So we'll have to see. Hopefully they'll at least have some information once it comes out of E3. So DB, looks like we have a developer that was bought recently from Take-Two.
Yeah, a little bit of other developer news and conversation. So the Kerbal Space Program team has been picked up by Take-Two. So the Kerbal Space Program, their developer is called Squad. And they have been developing and creating the Kerbal Space Program in a number of formats, and for a large number of years now. It's been on PC for quite a while, and one is in early access. Last year it came to PS4 and Xbox. But I think the interesting thing about it is that Take-Two, and not just 2K, but Take-Two being more in a kind of a big AAA space with GTA, with NBA 2K. Yep, right. I mean that this is a different move for them in terms of trying to diversify their portfolio. It feels more so than kind of a big AAA title acquisition.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you is, why does this make sense? And do you think this is kind of Are publishers looking around and seeing the Microsoft play? I think people are starting to realize why that multi-billion-dollar purchase made sense when they bought Minecraft, is because now Microsoft is able to put a game on any platform, and those platforms want it. And so now we have things like a Microsoft published game showing up on the Nintendo Switch, which, if you would ask any of us 5 to 10 years ago if there would ever be a Microsoft published game on a Nintendo platform, I'm sure we would have all said, heck no. So I'm just trying to figure out why in the world this makes sense for Take-Two when they just historically have been kind of oriented around, core gaming content. Kerbal's much more of an experience, right? It's not a really gamey game. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, DB?
Yeah, I think I wonder about it too, right? And that looking at the press release around it, there's not a big kind of business end of it that's been talked about. They talked about the availability of Take-Two to be fans of it. I wonder, given that Squad was a relatively small developer and this was kind of their big project, and that they've been doing a lot of free DLC, I wonder how much Squad was out there trying to get some acquisition money to keep that project going, or it's also been a big streaming game, because of kind of its kind of procedural and kind of not immersive, but kind of emergent gameplay that ends up happening as your squad blows up as you're trying to leave Earth, right? So it could be that they then take this tech and do a Kerbal Space Program 2 or Kerbal Space Program to Mars. They do something that then allows them to get another SKU out there and build on that. I don't know. I mean, I think it is interesting, but it's almost just as interesting because there's not a clear answer of what it means. So I think that's why I kind of pulled it, and for something to kind of keep our eyes on. So one of the things that's a little more clear cut in terms of profits and what the financial reasoning behind it is that we also had a little bit of A little bit of revenue news coming out of the Pokemon Company earlier last week, or this week. Actually, it came out quite a while ago, but it has recently been translated. And so that the Pokemon Company, they posted a record $143 million in profits. This is over 2,000% above what last year was. So last year, it was, they were in like the tens and twenties of $1 million of profit. And again, in this past fiscal year for them, they had the launch of Niantic's Pokemon Go and the monetization there, and then also Sun and Moon, which has sold record numbers. So I thought that for all the conversation about what the whether it's the long-term impact or the financial success, more so the financial success of Pokemon Go, even if it's not the phenomenon that it was within the first month, as Prime can attest to, the fact that they were able to turn out this much money in kind of a three-way split with Game Freak and with Nintendo and Niantic, that it ends up being a very good sign about the revenue that a game like that was able to produce. So moving on to our next story, we're back to you, Prime, and we look like we have some place that we could spend some of that money and profit.
Oh yeah, your hard-earned money is going to go to Lego Dimensions. So they released a few more, or they're going to release this September 12th actually, some more level packs and fun packs. No like big, kind of like the Ghostbusters or Harry Potter, like huge level in Batman, Lego Batman movie level packs, where it was kind of like you had to like rebuild another portal, basically in those ones. These are kind of smaller ones. So we got Teen Titans Go, the Powerpuff Girls, and Beetlejuice packs that are coming out this September. Probably like a staggered release, I would assume, over the holiday, more than likely. They just released, let me see here, Goonies and Harry Potter and Lego City recently. So this is kind of building upon just that whole brand, which I've kind of heard rumors that maybe after this release in September that the game might go away, or they'll stop producing content for it, and the different figures and stuff, which is a shame because it's Lego's super huge now, and it's just surprising that they would stop anything like this. But I don't know if the Lego Worlds that just recently came out a few months ago is kind of like biting into that maybe, and they want to maybe move over to that and kind of put all their properties into that, because there's really no like no Star Wars or no Teen Titans or anything like that in that game. It's more just the Lego world stuff, like the Lego little bit of Lego City and just their other kind of off brands that don't get much attention. But anyways, so like I said, Teen Titans will get a team pack, which comes with Raven and Beast Boy and a car that you can transform to different things. You got Starfire in a fun pack, which also comes with the Titan robot, which once again you can, if you play the game, you can change into different vehicles and whatnot.
So are there actual images of the Starfire?
Yes, if you go onto the link there, there's like a slideshow that you go through, and they actually show all the figures and stuff.
So you're a parent, I'm a parent, DB's a parent. Is this Starfire dressed appropriately?
Oh, you mean New 52 Starfire? Is that what you're worried about?
Well, Starfire from the very beginning, right? She's never been,
modest.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me see here. I actually have a picture, if I could see. No, she's actually fully clothed. She's got a little bit of midsection, but
so it looks more like the Cartoon Network Teen Titans Go, where it's more of like a it's not nearly the low cut kind of traditional Starfire skimpy outfit. And so again, I think I was going to translate for you, Zeus, of the fact of team packs and level packs, right? And fun packs. The idea that it's just a character that you can play in the game, or it's a couple characters, and then the level pack is actually where there's content in the game that it then unlocks as well. And so, are these just characters, or does it actually open up, like the Goonies pack opens up another level? Do these open up levels, or are these just additional characters to play with?
Looks like it'll open up a level on some of these. I don't. It wasn't in this article, but it was another article where it says, besides actually the figures where you can play in the hub world, that actually does open up other levels. I'm not finding it here right now, but yeah, it looks like it should open up another level in the game, which I'm not sure. Well, I guess right now there's I was gonna say not Rick and Morty. I can't remember that other goofy cartoon that they have on Cartoon Network. So I don't know if like Cartoon Network has their own little world, and maybe these kind of jump in there, but it'll open up like other parts of that world or not. So I'm not really sure because I don't have the that other pack, which I'm blanking on right now, but I'll look it up in a second.
So
Sure.
Do we have an official date or an official release announcement for Lego Dimensions for the Switch?
No, I don't know that it's been officially announced at all. And
Yeah, I know Skylanders was, but never. I don't think I've ever heard anything about Lego Dimensions.
well, and as Prime said, these were announced on the schedule either toward the end of last year or when they kind of announced the season of what the next drops were last year, that these were kind of the final ones. And I haven't heard anything either. And so I think it is the end of the run for what it is now. And if it comes back in some type of Lego Dimensions 2, we'll have to see.
Yeah, maybe there's potential for a sequel, hopefully. I mean, I would think they would have been selling pretty well. I mean, if they kept releasing these packs. I know with when Disney Infinity went away, they actually had some other content and toys that they're going to do, but they totally just cancel and nix that stuff. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. And then, like I said, they'll have Powerpuff Girls and Beetlejuice. So we'll see how that works out. So that's it for that. Looks like we have, speaking of Switch, we have some Nintendo news here. Some fighting going on over some hardware or components.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. So the Wall Street Journal reports that, and I'm interpreting this as that Nintendo has successfully done it. That, earlier this year we'd gotten the word that they were going to be doubling production. I believe that they have successfully done that, and so they're targeting pumping out 20 million units this year, whereas I think the original target for sales was somewhere between like 3 to 8 million, I think, originally before the release, and then they revised projections based on the initial launch weekend demand and are now trying to crank out 20 million units. Some of those units, they continue to fly to North America in order to meet ongoing demand. But what that now means, and I believe their principal ODM for the Nintendo Switch is Foxconn, which would make sense because Foxconn was also the ODM for the Shield devices. They are now starting to butt up against other manufacturers, other corporations who also have high demand for electronics parts, such as Apple. And unfortunately for Nintendo, go back 10 years ago and maybe Nintendo would have been near enough to Apple to actually maybe win out on some of this contention, but not today. Apple is just a hundreds of billions of dollar beast, and when Apple says, hey, I need X number of screens, they get those screens. So Nintendo may not be able to ramp much beyond that 20 million units, at least not anytime within the next 6 months, because it's roughly a 6-month ramp up, my understanding, from supply chain through manufacturing to get an increase in demand throughput. So right now where Nintendo is principally running into the problems are with NAND chips, as well as LCD screens. Now, I don't know where they're getting their LCD screens from. Apple tends to get a lot of their LCD screens from LG. So I'm not exactly certain exactly how that works within the supply chain and how they get from LG to Foxconn and where that supply contention would be. But NAND chips, NAND chip throughput has been negatively impacted by natural disasters in the Asian area of the world, tidal waves, earthquakes, and I guess the nuclear plant event in Japan a few years ago. So, and those prices have also been going up, which is why the prices for smartphones are up, and we've seen this year an erosion of big brand names pumping out those mid-tier smartphones like the Nexus, kind of in that $500 to $600 range, and even in the company Essential, which is Andy Rubin's company, just released something that is very Nexus-like, but that thing is coming in at $699. So prices are up, components are in shorter supply, And Nintendo's desire to pump out Switch units is definitely running into some friction. So and demand is up, and one of the things the Wall Street Journal points out is that one of the potential reasons for demand is up is because people aren't just buying one Switch, and I know that that's my intention and my target. I haven't pulled the trigger on that yet, but I definitely want multiple units in my household so I can have mine, and I can preserve it so that I can utilize it to continue to feed the site and the website and these discussions here. So I don't know. What do you guys? Can you guys think of any tricks or anything that Nintendo should pull off? One of the options that appears is not open to them is to increase the price that they pay for those components, because obviously, Nintendo has had this long-running strategy of trying to sell, since the Wii at least, of trying to cut against the grain of the typical console first-year strategy, which is to sell the consoles at a loss until you get the manufacturing price down and can start to turn a profit. But since the Wii, at least, Nintendo has been insisting that they at least break even on their consoles at their designated sales price, or actually make profit right off the bat. So anything else you guys can think of that Nintendo should try to get some of these select parts and increase their throughput?
Do we know for sure, or have either of you heard that the Switch is actually making a profit on each system sold that we know of?
I have not heard that for certain, but I guess I accept that as the probability, given the absence of hearing the opposite, right? Because normally with Xbox and PlayStation, we hear about kind of the rough loss that they're taking per console unit sold, but there's been none of that voice tracked for the Switch.
I think I remember a story back before the price of the Switch was released back in January that Nintendo's president had said that the unit was not going to be sold at a loss. They didn't say what their profit margin was, but that it wasn't. They weren't going to be taking a loss in that. So yeah, I think the bigger question that I'm looking at is I don't know that there's anything that they can do, Zeus. I wonder how long this holds out and when they have to adjust their projections in terms of sales, because they were relatively bullish on the number of units that they were going to sell through within the fiscal year. And so if they can't even produce that many, I wonder what that means in terms of, and how long, if this ends up being not quite a Wii situation, but something similar in terms of how long the demand will continue to outstrip supply. And if that, this is not a manufactured pretend demand, that this is based on stories like this is a real where demand is constrained. Where supply is constrained.
Yeah, and I'm gonna.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I'm gonna assume they're probably not gonna pay that extra to get the parts, because I'm pretty sure that with the Wii U they never dropped the price on that machine, not much. I think they did maybe once, but they were pretty hardcore on just keeping the price where it was. So I'm assuming they were still making money once those systems were being sold, and obviously it didn't do the best, but they kept the price high. So I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like they're a year and a half out from being able to turn this corner, but if this situation persists and it goes into next year, I feel like this poises them in the market perfectly for a Nintendo Switch, whatever, Pro Plus or whatever. So just the same machine with a higher resolution. Basically pull an Xbox Scorpio, right? Same machine with a higher resolution screen, a little better performance, and NVIDIA is just killing it, right? They definitely have additional tech that they can throw into the pipeline, and if they can leave the Switch on the market kind of like the way Apple does with its last generation iPad or whatever, leave the Switch on the market at its current price point, or even drop it a little and maybe bracket the current price point, so drop the current Switch to like $250, and then launch a Nintendo Switch Pro at like $350. I think they could pull that off and be able to pay higher prices for those components and be a little more competitive against the other manufacturers who are in the market competing for the same sparse population of parts.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I don't know if they do it already next year. Do you think it would be that soon? I'd say maybe a couple years.
Well, that's what I was saying. I'm saying it would be. I think the Switch needs to be on the market for 2 years. So
Oh, okay.
So I'm talking like March of 2020, right? 19. Yes.
Yeah, 19. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's 2017, I think. Who knows? All right. Well, I think that's all the news for now. There was a lot more that I think probably we all found, but I think we'll stop there. And I just want to, one last thing. It was Adventure Time. That was the cartoon I was trying to think of before about Lego Dimensions. So I know they have that level or those toys out there. So I don't know, like I said, if there's a Cartoon Network world or how that plays out, because I never bought that level pack or the team pack, whatever they have for that cartoon. So anybody else have any last words before we head out? Nothing? All right. Well, that'll bring us to the end of this newscast, episode number 92.
Let's squeeze in a quick plug real quick.
Oh, sure.
In my lower third, you can see the .com address for gearworks.com. So go over there. That's where all of the episodes are being posted now. I have finally caught up from being a little bit behind, so you can go over and check out the episodes. They are posted there in what I refer to as the aggro post. So if you go to that post, you can see, you can consume the podcast via streaming video, streaming audio, or you can download it via the SoundCloud embed. Also, a reminder that we currently have an ongoing recruitment drive. We are looking to get at least a replacement for our 4th chair and get you in the mix. But we would really like to get 2 additional people so we can kind of go into a rotation and have the opportunity for some of the cast members to have a week off periodically. So you don't need to, there's really no qualifications other than you need to be really interested in talking about games. And be polite and nice. So, other than that, so that recruitment drive is also posted over on gearworks.com. You can just go to the archive index and find it under podcasts. And then the last plug I'll make is also just peruse some of the other content on gearworks.com. I've got a bunch of movie reviews out, and I would definitely say if you missed Rogue One in the theaters, it just recently dropped on digital and is out on DVD and Blu-ray. I would highly recommend going and checking that out.
Cool. Awesome. Yes. Very, very awesome movie. And with that, kind of the tail end on that, actually, the next couple of weeks, we will kind of have people coming and going. So it'll probably be a 2-man podcast for the next few weeks, probably up until E3. And then we'll have, actually after E3, and then we'll probably all be back. But please come back at least for Monday's show, episode number 93, when we're back to our topic of the week and what we've been playing. So if you enjoyed this show, please like, subscribe, and share it out with your friends and family. And on behalf of myself, Osiris Prime, Zeuxidamas, DBQHams, we will see you next time.